Welcome back, everybody, to the video. Today we are back for a tier list video. Our first one in a long time, to be honest, other than our weekly power rankings, which is like technically a tier list. But this is just kind of, good old-fashioned ranking the quarterbacks, and I did this last year for mid-season. I want to do a bit more than just mid-season and then end of season, though. This year I want to do kind of like right now, and then probably get mid-season, and maybe for like a playoff push, and then the end of season, so get some more tier lists in there. But yeah, so we're going to be ranking quarterbacks so far into the season based off how they played. Although one thing to note, there are a lot of quarterbacks on this. We will not be ranking all of them. I'm only ranking the starters or the quarterback that's played the most. So, for instance, like for the Saints, Derek Carr is the starting quarterback. He's played the most. Jameis Winston has got in, but we're not going to rank him because it's going to like kind of make the list look weird if I rank quarterbacks like Minshew as like a B tier when he only played for one game, and it's gonna like just look off. So I'm only ranking the guys that have played the most with like the biggest sample size to really kind of actually analyze. Other than that though, we're just gonna jump right into it, starting off with Jalen Hurts. So I believe Hurts has 8 total touchdowns on the season with passing and rushing, and the Eagles are looking good. They've had some close calls, but they've come on top on pretty much all of them. And or I guess actually they haven't lost yet, right? I think they have come out on top on all of them, or maybe they have lost. I don't know. For some reason, that just slipped my mind. But either way, Hurts, I'm gonna put him, I think, A tier for right now. I might move up to S tier at the end of the video. And one more thing, whenever I do this, just for the sake of fluidity for the video, I do rank them, and then at the end, if I don't like where I put someone, I will move some things around. So just in case, like I rank someone right now that you guys don't like, I might move them up at the end or down or whatever, just based off when I have more time to think about it. But yeah, so anyway, he's going A tier for right now. Next is Kirk Cousins, and honestly, the Vikings don't have a good record, but Kirk has actually played pretty well. The only issues with him have been his very costly turnovers, which have also kind of coincided with losing the game. Like against the Buccaneers, the interception in the red zone, they lost the game. And then they play the Chargers, another interception in the red zone, and then they lose that game. So it's been very costly, but overall, I don't think Kirk's played that bad. So I'm actually going to put him in the A tier too, at least as of right now. I think he's done fine. I think the Vikings as a whole just aren't on the same level as they were last year, and the Vikings defense is just really starting to catch up to them, but you never know. Maybe they'll turn around. But for Kirk himself, he's going to go A tier. And next is Daniel Jones. Look, when I did this, I think I did a video ranking quarterbacks going into this year. I'm not for sure, but I'm pretty sure I would have done that. I had Daniel Jones, I want to say probably B tier, and I think he's gonna go probably either C or D. We'll put him C tier, but he might move down to the D tier because he's just made some very just bad mistakes. And to be fair, in all fairness to him, his offensive line has been horrible. Like, he snaps the ball, instantly the play is broken down. He's either sacked, throw on the run, throw the ball away, or picked off. That's basically been how like the entire season has gone for them, especially the game against the Seahawks that we just saw. But Daniel Jones he's just not been as good as he was last year. I think a huge issue has been the offensive line, which definitely adds to it. But Jones himself has just not been as good. Next is Mac Jones. Mac Jones had a very bad game against the Cowboys defense, and I am going to cut him a little bit of slack just because it is the Cowboys defense, and they make a lot of quarterbacks look like that. It's not really a testament to how bad Mac Jones is or anything, in my opinion. I think the Cowboys defense is just that good. Although Mac did play absolutely terrible despite the defense. So he as well, I think, is going to go probably, well, honestly, let's move him and Daniel Jones on a D tier, and then we'll move them up at the end if I feel like we should move them up. But we'll put them down there as of right now. And then next is Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy's done a great job. I'm going to put him in A tier. I don't think he's really doing anything that's like mind-blowing, but he's putting the team in, like the spot to win the game, and they're winning games. So I'm not going to like, I think people also bring up for Purdy his like his yards after catch stats of like when he actually throws the ball versus how long the play goes. So like, he gets a 67-yard play to Deebo Samuel, but in reality he threw like a screen pass. Like, I understand the argument there, but he still has been very good and hasn't really turned the ball over a whole lot. So I still think Purdy's a good quarterback. I understand that argument, but he's still going to go A tier for me because he's putting the team in the right spot to win games, and they're winning games. So he's going A tier. Next is Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes is not having like a Mahomes caliber season as of right now, but I think it's just more like a different perspective on how good Mahomes actually is, because he's actually not playing that bad right now. He's just usually plays at such a high level. It looks like he's not playing as good as he normally does, which is true. But anyway, he has, I think, 4 turnovers, which I think is the biggest thing, is he doesn't usually throw a lot of interceptions. And he would have had 3 against the Jets had they not called a holding on that controversial call in that game. So, I don't know. Mahomes, I think, at least for me, is still going to go S tier, because the fact that they are honestly still winning games with that bad of a receiving core is mind-blowing to me. Because they have, very bad receivers, to be honest. I thought they'd be a bit better than what they have been. I thought some guys would step up, and it really has not turned out like that. And again, this is a very, early video compared to how much season we have left. So just I'm saying that right now doesn't mean it's going to happen the rest of the year, but just ranking off what we've seen so far, I am going to put Mahomes in the S tier because I think he's still doing really, really well with what he has to work with. Next is Anthony Richardson. I'm going to give him a lot of credit here because he was someone that people, and including myself, I was very skeptical of what he would look like his rookie year, but people were really talking about how he was going to struggle, wouldn't be able to complete passes, and he's been great, honestly. I think he's been really, really good for the Colts, so he's going to go B tier. I think he's missed some throws, but like with that play we saw in preseason, whenever he threw it off 1 foot for an interception, he hasn't really done anything that stupid. Just to say it plainly, he hasn't really done anything that dumb. And he's been great as a runner. I think it's really just showing what he can be as long as he just kind of perfects and kind of polishes off some of the the fundamentals that he's not great with, which is understandable because that's what he was kind of scouted as a prospect. So I think he's done really good so far, and he's going B tier. Next is Baker Mayfield, and look, he's going to go B tier as well. I know he's not slicing up every defense he plays, but compared to how I thought the Buccaneers would do this year, including Baker Mayfield, I think he's done very, very well. And I think he's honestly utilized the offense to the best of his abilities as of right now. And as long as he can stay where he is, I think the Buccaneers have a good season. But there is always that Baker Mayfield cycle of looking really good and then looking really not good. So hopefully he can stay up right now because it is actually pretty cool to see what he's doing. Then next is Jared Goff. Jared Goff's going to go A tier for me. I think Goff's done a great job. I think it's been kind of not expected, but expected at the same time. The Lions had a lot of hype on them this year, and it was kind of understood that if they're going to be as good as their ceiling kind of projects, Jared Goff needs to be able to play very well. He needs to be able to get the weapons of the ball, whether that's Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield, or Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Jameson Williams whenever he comes back, or it doesn't really matter. But as long as he's getting the ball out, the offense is just so dynamic they could be really good. And I think Goff has done a very good job of doing that so far. And that game against the Seahawks, I think they'd really like to have back because that was a very winnable game. Came down to overtime. But other than that, I think the Lions have had a very good start to their season, and I think they could definitely win that division. I picked them to, and I think as long as they keep doing what they're doing right now, it's definitely possible. Next is CJ Stroud, and I'm going to be honest, coming into this video, I was like, okay, Stroud's probably going to go A tier for me. I'm going to put him S tier because honestly, he is statistically one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL right now. And I think I'm pretty sure I checked to make sure. I believe the leading passer right now is Sam Howell, but it's only because he's played one extra game than everybody else because of the game we just saw, Thursday night. So, I mean, Stroud, after this week, could be the top passer in the NFL. And it's just really crazy to me because I thought Stroud would be a very good quarterback, but I did not think it would be this early in the year or even this year at all. I thought he would honestly really struggle early on. And it has not gone that way at all. So very, very happy for him. He's going S tier. It's been really cool to see him just absolutely break out in his first, 4 games, whatever it's been already. Next is Kenny Pickett. And Kenny Pickett, I feel like, has to go either C or D tier for me. I'm going to put him C, but he might move down at some point. He just, has looked so out of sync compared to, what he, all the progress he made. I mean, over the course of last year, he looked more confident. He was hitting guys, on the run. He was more accurate. Even in preseason, he seemed to, just feel more, just look more comfortable. And once week 1 started, that all went out the window when they played the 49ers week 1. I mean, that was really bad. And I still feel like the offense is so dysfunctional, from the play calling to even the receivers other than George Pickens. I mean, losing Deontay Johnson is very, very tough for the Steelers. And then you have Najee Harris not looking as explosive out of the backfield, and Jalen Warren's looking really good. So it's just kind of all out of whack for me. I think Kenny Pickett's done, fine. You could probably argue, he's in the D tier or even him. C tier and Daniel Jones here. I don't think I'd move Mac Jones up, but if you would, I mean, I think that's probably valid too. So I'm going to leave it like that just for right now. But just so you guys know, if you have any combination of what I just showed, that's perfectly valid, and I don't really disagree with that either. Next is Geno Smith. Geno Smith's going to go B tier for me. I think Geno's been good. I don't think like a whole lot more than that. I think the Seahawks, that one game, week 1 against the Rams, they'd love to have back as a very, winnable team or very beatable team, and they just didn't come out on top of that one. Since then, though, they have looked pretty good, and I like Geno Smith a lot. I think he's, I think he kind of came out as a big surprise last year, being as good as what he has been, and I think he's kind of picked up where he left off. Still pretty good. Seahawks are still definitely a playoff team if he can get them there, and I think it's very possible he does. So he's going B tier. Next is Josh Allen. Josh Allen is going to go S tier for me. Because week 1, he looked absolutely terrible, and he has done nothing but bounce back since then, including this past week, whenever they just beat who they just beat. I cannot remember who they just played for some reason. The Dolphins. I'm not sure why it just would not come to me, but when he beat the Dolphins, that was a game. A lot of people picked the Dolphins after their 70-20 game that they won. But Josh Allen, after that week 1 game, he's bounced back against the Raiders. He bounced back against the Commanders, I believe, and then also the Dolphins. So I like what I've seen from him. Week 1 was very bad with the turnovers. I think since then he's really showed that he is still a very good quarterback. And I think he's looked very, very good. So he's going S tier for me. Next is Trevor Lawrence. I'm actually going to put Trevor Lawrence B tier. I'd love to put him A tier, but honestly, the Jaguars offense has really not exploded like I thought it would. Again, very early on the season. I'm not saying it can't happen. I still think it does happen at some point this year. But I think they can be a lot more explosive than what they have been. That game against the Texans, for whatever reason, the Texans have a very good record against the Jaguars in Jacksonville. So I guess it's somewhat expected, but still, the better team is always kind of expected to win, at least in my opinion. I mean, unless you're picking upsets, which of course, people do. But still, I picked the Jaguars in that game. I thought they were the better team at that point in time, and they didn't come out on top of that one. So I think it is what it is. I like Jacksonville a lot, and I'm going to say, yeah, Lawrence. I almost just moved him up. I'm gonna leave him in B tier. I think that's just probably right for him. Next is Tua, and I gotta put him S tier. I really love what Tua does when he's healthy, because he is just so good. He is so good getting the ball out very quickly, first off, and also accurately to whether it's Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or whoever it is. The Miami offense is just so unbelievably fun to watch. That's why I've wanted Tua to stay healthy. Also just for his personal health, but also because that team ceiling is just so high with him in there. I hope he continues to stay healthy. I've loved what Tua has done so far, so he's going S tier. Next is Derek Carr. He's just gonna go C tier for me. I mean, statistically, maybe he's higher up there, but it just hasn't been. You move on from what was it, like Andy Dalton last year for the Saints. But it hasn't really changed a whole lot. I don't think the Saints really made this massive upgrade where the entire offense is now different. I think if you get a quarterback that you can count on for the next 4 or 5 plus seasons, I don't think Derek Carr is that guy. And I think that you very soon are going to be drafting a young quarterback, because you need kind of the next guy in there you can count on for the next however many years. Because Chris Olave is very, very good. Alvin Kamara is very good. Rashid Shaheed is very good. If Michael Thomas can stay healthy, he's a great threat too. So the offense is very, very good. But I don't think the quarterback complements it very well. I don't think Derek Carr is really the answer for them. I think he's been fine, but you're not going to win a Super Bowl just, being fine. So Derek Carr's going to go C tier for me. I just don't love what he's done in New Orleans yet. If they turn around and have an amazing year, anything's possible, I guess. But as of right now, it just hasn't really blown me away. Okay, next is Justin Fields, and this is a very, very awkward time for me to do this video, because if I was filming this probably a week ago, he'd be C tier, maybe even D tier. But now we have the Broncos game that, though they lost, he looked way better in. And then you also have last night's game against Washington, where he had 4 touchdowns to no turnovers or something. And they beat him by 17 points. So, I honestly don't know where to rank Fields, because I feel like if I rank him low, it's going to age horribly. Because I see this as a point where the season could be turning for the Bears, because it's still very early on. 0-4, now they're 1-4. It doesn't really mean a whole lot. If you go to win streak here, that could be, 5-4, no problem. So I'm going to rank Fields, I think, B tier, and make it a very... Picture the C tier, and he just took a step up from the top of the C tier to the low B tier. That's kind of where I see Justin Fields right now, because I think he is now starting to kind of pick it up a little bit, and not even rushing wise, passing wise, which is great for him. That was the hope. So I'm going to put him there. because I feel like it's going to age a bit better than if I rank him very, very low. And, so far it hasn't been great, but the past 2 weeks have shown what, he's kind of turning it around. So I'm going to kind of rank it off that. And then again, Sam Howell's been, he's now the passing leader thanks to that kind of extra game he's played so far this week. And I've honestly been very, back and forth because I think there's definitely a case for him being in the A tier. But that one game against Buffalo really, really hurts that case because that was, a really good defense and he just absolutely crumbled. And not to rip on him, I mean, it's his first full year starting, you know what I mean? So I'm going to put him B tier. Picture that like a higher B tier, but I can't justify putting him in the A tier just because that horrible game he played against the Bills. Next is Desmond Ridder. Desmond's got to go D tier. I'm sorry. I really like the Falcons offense despite being a Panthers fan. It's just really good. I mean, you have Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Drake London, Mac Hollins. It's a really good offense, and Ridder just holds them back, at least in my opinion. I mean, you look at that London game, pick 6, and then another interception, back to back, and it was almost 3. He almost threw another one later on too, but the guy dropped it. So, and I said this before, I think in one of my week pick videos, I think, or maybe it was a power rankings, I can't remember, but the Falcons offense is great. But whenever they're down and Ridder's asked to throw the ball consistently to lead them down the field and try to make a comeback, he just can't do it yet. And I'm not trying to say he never will be able to because he's still a very young quarterback. But from what he's shown right now, he can't do it. I don't think he's quite there yet. So he's going to go D tier for me. I really just haven't liked what I've seen from him. I think he's had a couple good games, but overall, I think he honestly holds him back a bit. Next is Zach Wilson. And again, it's a very awkward time to be filming this because I mean, he had a really good game against the Chiefs. So does that mean Zach Wilson is all of a sudden, back and he's going to be looking good? Here's the thing. I ranked Fields because we've seen what Fields can do last year. We haven't seen many games of Zach Wilson looking really good. So I am going to put Zach Wilson in the... see if I do that. Okay, let's put him in the C tier. Or no, okay, let's put him D tier. Let's move up Daniel Jones, and let's move up Mac Jones. And then maybe that looks a bit better. But Zach Wilson just I don't know. I think he's capable. He's definitely capable. He just showed that he's more than capable of being very good. But I'm not sure if it's a confidence thing whenever he gets, whether it's picked off or fumbles or whatever it is, and he just crumbles. I don't know what it is. Maybe you're actually watching in real time, progressing and getting better. That could be the case. But the only difference between him and Fields is that, like I said, I've seen what Fields can do. I know what Fields is capable of. So now that he's kind of turning it on again, I know what to expect. I haven't seen Zach Wilson consistently play good football. So he's going to stay in the D tier for right now. Next is Dak Prescott. Honestly, Dak's going to go A tier. I think he's been quite good. Horrible game against the Cardinals. Other than that, I think they've looked pretty good. The Cowboys have been very good. The only thing, though, this Sunday night, they are playing the 49ers. That is going to really show what kind of game Dak has because the 49ers defense is not a defense you can just, you can mess around with. I mean, they have looked very good. The most consistent team in football in this year, in my opinion. I almost got all those words turned around. So Dax can go A tier. I think he's been very solid. The Cardinals game looks, obviously pretty bad. But other than that, I think he is an A tier quarterback so far this year. Next is Justin Herbert. I'm actually going to put him S tier. I mean, he has 7 touchdowns to only 1 interception. I think he has a rushing touchdown as well, if I'm not mistaken. 1,100 passing yards. So I think it's very easy, and the reason I'm saying his stats like that is because it's very easy to just hear Justin Herbert, and you think, oh, the Chargers haven't been very good this year. But Herbert himself has. He's actually been very, very good. They just haven't come out on top of a lot of the games they've played. And I think, obviously, they can still turn that around. The Chargers are a great team. They've had some tough losses to, the Titans they lost to. They barely beat the Vikings, but they did win. I can't remember the team that they lost to, but, yeah. Anyway, Justin Herbert is S tier. Chargers have been great, but he has been very, very good. Next is Matthew Stafford, and I think he's going to go B tier. I mean, I guess you can make a case for C tier, but I think he's been good enough. I mean, they beat the Seahawks when they weren't really expected to, and then they also beat the Rams, although they beat the Rams. They beat the Colts, but he played horrible against the Bengals defense, but I think that's a bit more on the O-line as well, so it just kind of depends there. He's going to go B tier. I think he's been very solid. He's got he's done a great job getting, Puka Nacua the ball, but other than that, it hasn't really, blown me away or anything. Next is Jordan Love. He's going to go B tier. Honestly, I think if he beats the Lions, he's an A tier quarterback for me. but I haven't loved the way he's looked at times this season, so he's not quite A tier in my opinion. But he's been, more than solid though. I mean, he has I think only 3 turnovers, and for a long time with I think the first 3 games maybe he didn't even have Christian Watson. Or maybe it was, I think the first 3 games, and they didn't have Aaron Jones for a couple games as well. So, he's actually had to play with not all his weapons there, and I think he's done a pretty good job of it. Came down 17-0 to the Saints in the fourth quarter and won the game. And he did make the Lions game respectable in the end, though they didn't win. So, he could be A tier, but I think it looks better just having him in the B tier because he just hasn't been, quite that good yet. Next is Ryan Tannehill, and the Titans, in my opinion, are one of the most inconsistent teams this year for me to pick. I'm going to put him in C tier. I think he's been about average or below average. I think the Titans offense could be a lot better with him or without him at quarterback, assuming they had a good quarterback. But I just you get Hopkins, and it's can really change your offense. You still have Treylon Burks. It just hasn't really taken a big step like I'd like to see. I haven't loved what I've seen from Tannehill. I know he's solid. He's good for them, but I think the offense could be a lot better without him. With a better quarterback in there, but he still hasn't played bad like D tier or anything, but just it hasn't been great. Next is Russell Wilson, and he's actually B tier in my opinion. Russ, though the Broncos haven't been very good, Russ actually has had a pretty good season compared to last year. And the huge comeback win against the Bears is a very good sign for him, even though it is just the Bears and the best team in the world, but still. Is a badly blown lead against Washington. I know that was kind of tough, but other than that, I think Russ actually looked a lot better. There's trade rumors surrounding, Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. Who knows if that will end up happening or not, but I think with the weapons he has right now, Russ has done a very good job, and if I'm the Broncos, I wouldn't, wreck that right now, because Russ, he needs to be in a rhythm to kind of keep going here. He's trying to bounce back off a very bad season. Next is Bryce Young, and look, I'm going to say I'm a big believer in Bryce Young. I really am. I think Carolina has only set him up for failure. They have not got him the best weapons in the world. They've got him, pretty mid weapons, I think is how I've described it in the past. And it's shown, receivers can't separate. The O-line hasn't done great. And then whenever Bryce isn't pressured, he feels like he's being pressured and he makes a mistake. It's just like the rookie growing pains along with a whole lot of other issues that the front office have kind of put on themselves. You trade away your best receiver to then draft a quarterback. Why you do that, I have no idea. I think, in my opinion, you package Brian Burns in there instead because while Brian Burns is great, I think the rookie quarterback having a very good wide receiver 1 is more important. Regardless, though, Bryce Young, I think, is going to be C tier. I don't think he's been bad, and I think if you do watch the games, he's being very, very limited. Being able to take shots on the field. They throw so many screen passes and all this kind of stuff. And when they have taken shots, he's actually looked pretty accurate. He's missed a few guys here and there, of course, but I think the play calling has made things a lot worse for him as well. He's just in a very bad situation as of right now. I wouldn't say he's D tier at all, but I don't think I can put him much higher than C tier. Next is Jimmy Garoppolo. He's going C tier as well. I had said before that I didn't feel that he was a big upgrade over Derek Carr, and he's kind of shown that. He has 5 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, has a concussion, missed this past week, so hopefully you have him back to kind of continue the season a bit, but I haven't loved what I've seen from them, and I don't think the Raiders are in a very good spot to win many games this year. So it is what it is, but he's going C tier. Next is Lamar Jackson. He's going to go A tier. I think Lamar's been very good. I wouldn't say S tier because they have had some rocky games against the Texans and the Colts. But other than that, I think he's been very good. I think the Ravens have been very good. The offense hasn't taken a huge leap like I would have liked them to, but it's still better. So that's all you can really ask, and I think you are winning the division. So not too much to complain about. I think Lamar's had a pretty good year, and so far he is an A tier quarterback. Next, okay, so I had to get a little creative here because for whatever reason, they have all these quarterbacks on here, but they don't have Josh Dobbs or Deshaun Watson. So because Jacoby Brissett used to be on the Browns, we're going to have him as Deshaun Watson, and I'm going to rank Deshaun Watson B tier because I think he has been pretty good. He's struggled, but I think he has gotten a bit better. He couldn't play last week because of the shoulder injury, though, so not as big of a sample size as some of the other quarterbacks we've seen, but I think if he can kind of bounce back from the injury pretty quickly, he was getting a bit better as the season was going on. So he's going to go B tier. He hasn't been C tier or anything, but I wouldn't say much better than B tier. And then next is Joe Burrow, which is crazy to say, but Burrow, I mean, I'm putting him C tier. He's been very bad. Obviously, the calf injury has really hurt him a lot because it's just. It's been very obvious he's not very mobile. So defense are just blitzing the crap out of him. I do the same thing, and they're getting to him. sacking him, forcing bad throws, interceptions, all that kind of stuff. Honestly, I checked his stats, and he's like a little over 700 yards, and I was surprised there's even that many, to be honest with you. So, Burrow, not having a good year at all. It's been very sad to see that for the Bengals. They've kind of collapsed a bit because of that injury. But yeah, he's going C tier. And then again, I had to get a little creative because they don't have Josh Dobbs on here. This is Hendon Hooker. But I figured since Hendon Hooker is from Tennessee and so is Josh Dobbs, I'd have one Tennessee quarterback represent another Tennessee quarterback. So that's why I am going to be using Hendon Hooker to represent Josh Dobbs. And Dobbs, I'm actually going to put... I might just do B tier, to be honest. I think Dobbs, all things considered, has been fairly solid. The Cardinals have not really had any expectations this year. They were projected to be very bad, one of the worst teams in the league, and you beat the Cowboys, which is a huge upset. You don't do very well against the 49ers, but other than that, you've honestly come very close. You almost beat Washington. You almost beat someone else, too, that I can't remember who it was, where honestly you did almost win those games. Now you play the Bengals, and you can beat them. The Bengals have not been very good, so I'm going to put Dobbs in B tier. Maybe it makes more sense to put him in C tier. I mean, if you have him in C tier, I'm not really going to argue with that. That's perfectly valid, but that is where they're going to go just because I feel like that's the best spot for Dobbs, all things considered. But yeah, so that is all the quarterbacks we're going to be ranking today. Obviously, we didn't rank like, Winston. Sadly, we can't rank Aaron Rodgers, much as I'd love to rank Aaron Rodgers. But later this year, we will be ranking Kyler Murray once he comes back, so that'll be exciting. And then, the rest of those guys, probably not. So that's going to do it for the video. I was looking at, moving guys around, and honestly, I kind of like how this turned out. So I'm going to leave it just like this. But comment down below any issues you guys have with it. I'm sure, not everybody agrees with me, but let me know down below what you agree with, what you disagree with, what your favorite quarterback has done this year, and what you want them to do later on this season. Thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it. If you want to see more NFL tier list videos just like this, make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel because I do these literally year long, whether it's on quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, entire defenses, entire offenses, entire team rankings. I grade the the entire draft classes by team in doing this, so it's always going to be some tier list videos going on at some point this year. I do NFL content and Madden content. So NFL content, like I said, is tier list videos. We do our weekly picks and power rankings along with any other random news and player videos like that. And then Madden, we do No Money Spent series, Madden Ultimate Team. We do pack openings. We do gameplays and new pro and content news and all that kind of stuff. So thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.